The Springfield Economic Development Agency will now meet in executive session for the purpose of discussing a Glenwood property disposition and redevelopment request and a Glenwood real property discussion. The executive session is held pursuant to ORS 192.3456, ORS 192.6602 EF, and ORS 40.225. As a reminder of the rules regarding attendance at executive sessions, I would like to read the following. Representatives of the news media and designated staff shall be allowed to attend the executive session. All other members of the audience are asked to leave the room. Representatives of the news media are specifically directed not to report on any of the deliberations during the executive session, except to state the general subject of the session as previously announced. No decision may be made in executive session. May I have roll call, please?
Board Member Van Gordon.
Here.
Board Member Pitts.
Here.
Board Member Moe.
Here.
Board Member Rodley.
Here.
Board Member Stair.
Here.
Chair Woodrow.
Here.
Board Member Pictionary.
I'm here.
And Board Member Bernie.
And Bernie is excused. And our one and only topic this evening will be taken care of by Courtney. So Courtney, you have the floor.
Good evening. Thanks, Chair, Board. Good to see folks. Welcome back from summer, although I saw you during summer. But here this evening to talk about a potential property purchase for your consideration. The staff specific to CETA was approached by owners of about 2 acres in Glenwood. I'll show you some visuals, but they're in the packet as well, with interest in selling their parcels to us. I'll talk through why we are ultimately the buyer for these individuals and not someone else a bit as we look at the location of them. We did have an appraisal done. This evening is just requesting the board's authorization to engage more formally with the property owners to negotiate a transaction that we would then bring back to the board for review and consideration and potentially authorization. I'm going to put up a visual on this. Also want to note, I do have both Christina Kraz is here and Nathan Bell, just because there are some potential legal and financial implications. So we can put them on the spot, which I know they always love. Start this up. Okay. It's always a little bit of a chore to get the visual going and be able to see you all. So the property specifically that we're talking about this evening is the 2 acres that's outlined in the yellow. I'll show you kind of next to it, there's a little better highlights. So the large area and outlined in black on the right is the property that we've assembled over time. Then over to the bottom left, next to the HFG, which stands for Homes for Good, there's parcels 23 and 24. Those are portions that the board has authorized us to enter into purchase and sale on. And so now we're discussing the yellow 2 acres outlined to the west of that. So it just kind of gives you some context of where we're at in these pieces. The parcels are zoned as Glenwood residential mixed use under the Refinement Plan. What's unique about that zoning is that is a very valuable zoning and it has a lot of opportunity, but for the designation of the Refinement Plan, there's an overlying designation of roads and open space. And that overlying designation makes us ultimately the only real feasible buyer, us or Willamette Lane, probably a combination of both. The Ramseys have approached us. We have a positive relationship with them. Our transportation, development, and public works staff have worked closely with them over the years as we did the Franklin project. So they felt comfortable coming to us and saying, you know, we're interested in selling and we've not been able to put it on the market. We really can't. We can't find a broker to rep it and we really can't find a bank to purchase it because of this overlay of parks and roads. We included in the packet some information about what we mean by that overlay, what the refinement plan has created. The refinement plan set some zones allowing different types of residential and commercial, but it also put on there the types of street grid expectations and open space expectations to complement those spaces. And these are just some of the images from the refinement plan and really the codified overlay. What that means, and this zoomed in image is really, I think, helpful from my perspective. When we overlaid a concept of what those diagrams actually do to the site, you see here that the site in its entirety is within or the envelope of a portion of the surrounding road and parks and open space. So it's a great opportunity for us because it really is a site that's valuable to the overall feel and place of the riverfront. It also offers us an opportunity to engage Willamette Lane potentially about a partnership, but we need to be mindful to the timing of this opportunity and also their financial situation. Then this, I just kind of add this little highlight here in the corner of the parcel that we're currently under purchase and sale agreement on. This is just something that I'm always kind of watching as we're assembling, and you can start to see what's occurring and how this piece factors into that assembly. Right now, we're acknowledging the 2 blue parcels and the Roth parcels as part of assembly because those are willing and active participants, and Homes for Good being the same. But we're starting to kind of see how property owners under a very positive set of partnerships and interactions are starting, we're either purchasing or coming together on that assembly. So our request this evening is to talk through the appraisal which we received. The appraisal's new, it's about a month old. It has assigned a purchase price of 1.2 million or 1,214,000 to be exact to the parcel. This brings it at about $14 a square foot. They're basing their comparable off of the Homes for Good purchase that happened a couple years ago. The other note of that valuation is they are not providing any valuation to the buildings themselves. So the buildings are not in great shape. It truly is just a land comparable. What we would recommend if the board is authorizing negotiation is that we engage the property owners and we start by doing some deductions for the cost to remove those structures, also ensuring that the site is clean, or if it's not clean, that we understand the value to bring it to clean or at least to a letter of no further action. So as of now, we've not ordered a phase 1 appraisal, or I'm sorry, a phase 1 environmental assessment. That would be a next step, but we didn't want to take that until the board was ready to discuss. Are there any questions on this piece?
Oh,
Courtney?
Yeah.
Yes, a question on regards to, so we don't have any idea what's under the land at this point,
We
right?
do not yet.
Do we have any speculation just on the history of the land?
Yeah, our general speculation would not be of great concern. We might expect some underground heating oil tanks, possibly some above ground heating oil tanks. There may be some spots of potential spill. A lot of this is just sort of historical experience along the way. But this region has not been heavily industrialized, partly because of the high water tables. That phase 1 would really point to whether or not we're looking at a phase 2. I would assume we would move into a phase 2.
Yeah.
Okay.
It used to be the Gold Coast Auto Court. It was a very big one there. And then just to the west of it was the Cherry Grove Auto Court. So that's where the Jonah Roth property is. So I remember it well. So I don't think it was a big environmental impact on it then.
Yeah, the other note about environmental impacts is they are tricky sites when you find one that has an issue, but sometimes the public agency is the right owner for those tricky sites, especially if it gives us an ability to mitigate or cap or more responsibly manage the issue. That is an activity in the urban renewal plan that is outlined, is something that we can play a role in.
I think Leonard has his hand up.
Yeah, thanks, Marilee. Courtney, are there currently any buildings that exist on this property?
There are a handful of outbuildings on the property. They're in pretty serious disrepair and would require substantial improvement were they to be buildings put back into active reuse, but we would be purchasing them actually with the request to have those removed as part of the purchase, or a discount in the purchase price for us to have them removed.
Got it. And so why is the owner motivated to sell now?
Well, I don't want to make assumptions about their personal position, but they have not been using the site for any number of years. It's been vacant. And because of the Glenwood Refinement Plan overlay, it is not a site that could easily be sold for redevelopment. Once somebody would come in to redevelop it, they would run into issues with the Refinement Plan restricting what they could do on the site because it is supposed to be a road and park.
But I mean, would it be unreasonable to assume that this parcel might appreciate in value depending on what we do with the other pieces of land that we already have?
I think it absolutely will appreciate.
I mean, I just think it's interesting that the Ramseys are choosing now to sell.
Well, I mean, life is short.
Okay, all right.
It
Okay,
works well for where they're at right now. I don't know.
fine. No further questions. Thanks.
Well, I think there's opportunity now because they've talked to realtors previously and there's no way they can sell it because of the way it's zoned.
Right.
Got it.
Only we can buy it. And
Okay,
that scares me, by the way, other properties out there, how we can get them zoned where people can't sell them because they can't be used for anything.
I mean, if I had 1.2 million, I would jump on this.
Yeah, and I want to note that the mayor has his hands up, but something I'll say is, Councilor Mo, you're not wrong, or Board Member Mo, you're not wrong in flagging that topic. There are a couple ways to look at it, and one is that we have really strong relationships with these property owners, and we have urban renewal, and it is prompting them to have the discussions with us, which we are looking to have because we really do actually want this asset. So
In this case, everything's coming together just right.
yeah, I think we just need to be mindful, and we actually would look to be having a future conversation where we can talk more broadly about that. Would bring it back to the board in an executive session to address the parcels that we think are in that category that we should start preparing to discuss.
Sean?
I think that was going to be one of my suggestions, that I had questions specific to, hey, like, as we go down this road, what's the implication for the remainder of the parcels in this zoning? But to this parcel right now, I'm comfortable going forward here. It makes sense to me, and I'm supportive of what's been proposed.
Christina, can I have you hop in and make sure I'm not missing something on that?
Yeah, I just wanted to clarify that I'm not sure this property would appreciate in value as other mixed use developments come online, because the property is zoned, but then within the refinement plan, it's specified. I think this is what Councilor Mo was alluding to. It's specified, as you can see on that map, for all public facilities. And so the zoning, doesn't necessarily allow, or the zoning may allow uses, but the refinement plan may not allow that development to occur the way that it is adopted because of those public uses. And that's the key reason that I would suspect that the key reason that they're unable to sell the property, that would not apply to other properties that are zoned within the mixed use refinement plan area, but are not shown on that map as being put toward a public facility in the future.
It's an interesting dynamic because it could result in the risk, while it may not appreciate to the general market, it could result in an appreciation potentially to us, which is, I think, what we would want to avoid, in the sense that we would not want the property owner to feel like we couldn't have a healthy market transaction with us and instead have them approach us in a more litigative scenario where we're talking about condemnation or taking, and then we have sort of in a different way appreciated the value.
Right. Thanks for that clarification, Christina. That makes a lot more sense. Thanks.
I just happened to think of something. We spent, when I first came on council, we were spending a long time getting the Glenwood Refinement Plan all put together, and it had taken years to get it to where it was completed and approved. And I wonder if it would be, since we are now involved in actually doing something in Glenwood, which we had not been so close to doing before, maybe it would be helpful if we had either an email or a summary or maybe 15 minutes worth of a presentation to anybody who, especially who wasn't involved, to give them an overall image of what we were. I mean, because we really got down into details with that, that we didn't want drive-throughs in the banks and different things like that. And so it really got into detail, water runoff and how that was going to be recycled and different things like that. And I think it might be worthwhile to have just a short presentation as to what that's all about. And it might help put this into a slot a little bit better as to why this was zoned the way it was, the way it is.
I think, and Amy is on the call, but you're right in line with what we actually have been contemplating as well. And I believe we've placed a hold on a CETA meeting in early October.
Oh, great.
But we can follow up a little bit more.
I just thought it might be helpful because I know when I first came on and we were working on it, it was like a huge jigsaw puzzle with 15,000 pieces. And so it might be, like I said, might be helpful now just to be able to see, we're seeing pieces. And if we could zoom back out and see the whole picture or image of what we were working on and why those pieces are there, that might be helpful.
Yeah, absolutely. I see board member Pish's hand up.
Joe.
Thank you. I was thinking along those same lines, but maybe just at a different level. I think that many years have passed since we trudged our way through the Glenwood refinement plan. And I think that many of those things that are contained within the refinement plan are obsolete and or no longer applicable. I also believe that this is we're at a great time to not just, look at it, get explanations of it, but actually look at it to see how it can be modified, what steps could be taken to modify, whether there's going to be some LCD issues or whether we could do some with just codification changes. What different things can we do? Because everything I've seen in that refinement plan has come up as so restrictive that people are being shunned away because of that refinement plan. Let's open it up and let's make that refinement plan much more flexible. But I know
I want to jump in real quick. I want to jump in real quick.
Oh, we're off topic.
Yeah, just
Okay,
a little off topic. And then also
Yeah.
that is distinction between what's CETA's role and what's the council's role. And
Right.
I know that especially with Board of Commissioner Bernie not available to join you tonight, it can be easy to forget which meeting you're in when it's all the same people. But also let's keep it.
Yeah.
I think the direction on what information would be helpful for the executive for the real property transaction. If you need more information, that's totally fine to talk about. So
Right.
if you want to talk about, if we could get a background on the refinement plan, that will help us determine what other properties we might want to buy, or if we want to buy this property, that's all helpful. But otherwise, if there's other stuff you want to discuss, I would say just send that to Courtney offline or
No,
to
I
the
admit-
chair offline or some other.
I admit I followed the lambs off the cliff and I apologize. I'm usually much better about that, but I got into that subject because it means a ton to me and it's desperate. Okay.
We
I'm
were
done.
all marching out there with you.
Steve.
I understand what Joe's saying about the refinement plan being obsolete. I believe this is the third refinement plan that's in place right now. It takes years to get that thing through, and it scare the daylights out of me. And it sets things up so lots of things just can't be done. And such as this park blocks and stuff. So, but to do it again, Joe, oh man, I don't know. I don't think we're ready for that.
I'm not going to say anything because I'm not supposed to.
Okay.
It is helpful feedback though for how we're considering this property purchase, the why and the context for it. In this case, the refinement plan has kind of brought an opportunity at hand. And so I think the request is for authorization to start that negotiation. It is not our intent to start at the appraised value, but to really start with some logical acknowledgements of the costs it's going to take to get us to what that value means. And that value really means it's a site that's ready and it's clean and it could go to shovel ready tomorrow for the thing it's going to be in the future. That's not its current state. So that would really be the approach for engaging the property owners. I believe board member Stair's hands up. And board member
Leonard.
Rodley, I don't know who was first. Sorry.
I've been talking a lot, Board Agent Rodley.
Agent.
I've been so many things today. Really, all I wanted to say is that I'm supportive of moving forward, and that's really I know we're not making a decision, but I just wanted to go not on the record as saying I'm supportive of us proceeding with it.
Leonard,
Thanks, Marilee. Would it be off topic to bring up the letter from the River Keepers that is in the packet tonight?
It
That would be, yeah, that would be very off topic and not a permissible topic for the executive session. So if you want to
Very
discuss
good.
that, I'll have to wait till the next regular meeting.
Okay, thank you.
Gag it, Leonard.
Yeah, I know. Troublemaker.
I like having people in the same boat I am.
I think we have confirmation to go ahead and proceed.
I'm good with that.
Yeah, I'm good with it.
Okay.
Good job.
Thank
That'll
you. I
do it.
appreciate it.
Thank you. Then I will call the executive session to adjournment. Thanks,
Thank you.
everybody.
All right.